Welcome to The Beam, where curiosity meets conversations, taking us a step further into the future we desire. I'm Sunes Nathaniel, and today we'll be looking at various issues as they affect Nigeria, from the move to stop sports betting in the nation, down to the news about content creators to have Instagram monetization in June. We'll be exploring how to build proficient tech communities to create solutions that address local issues. Before we get into these discussions, let's begin with a brief look at some of the major issues and trends that happened over the past week via social media. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Stay with us.
Death of Nollywood veteran actor Amechi Monago remains a big talking point all over social media. The actor is said to have died after a prolonged illness which was unrelated to kidney failure. His death coming some weeks after the passing of John Okafor, popularly called Mr. Ibu. Their deaths have many asking questions about healthcare and the general welfare of Nigeria's treasured screen stars. Factional leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, Simon Ekpa, was in the news within the passing week after he was declared wanted by the defense headquarters. Ekpa was declared wanted alongside some terrorists, insurgents, and other individuals who are behind violent crimes in the country. Following the resignation of former Super Eagles coach Jose Pesero, ex-Nigerian forward Finidi George was assigned to occupy the Chiefs' corner in the dugout when the Super Eagles confronted West African arch-rivals, the Black Stars of Ghana, in an international friendly on Friday in Marrakech, Morocco. A twist to the lineup saw the Eagles play in excellent spirit, beating the Ghanaians alongside the Jollof battle, with many asking that Finidi be given the head coach role permanently.
Thanks for staying with us. I have today on the program with me Mr. Dexter Moses, a seasoned professional who has bootstrapped several businesses across different sectors, including surveillance, security, real estate and hospitality, amongst others. He currently serves as the Chief Operating Officer of Yearbox Technology Limited, a software engineering company. Mr. Moses, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Sunes. Good to be here, really.
All right, awesome. Let's get right to it because we have several things to speak about. You know,
Absolutely.
so many things happening. I think my first question will be that people have been asking questions, and I've been trying to research some of these things people are asking online. And one of the first one is about artificial intelligence. And the question is simple. Will artificial intelligence kick us out of jobs in Nigeria?
Okay, now that's funny. I would like to look at it from this perspective. To discuss what artificial intelligence is doing currently, you have to discuss evolution. So evolution is basically the ability of species to adapt, over time. I would also look at it like this, that there were once farmers who were, farming with very crude implements and all of that. But then there were machines that came into farming and that helped simplify the process, and more yields were gotten from those processes. Would we say that jobs weren't lost? I wouldn't want to say so, because those artisanal, those small-scale farmers that used to farm with those crude implements, they weren't really thriving anymore. But it created new vistas, it created new opportunities, it created opportunities for the guy who rides the tractor operator, it created opportunity for the guy who, is repairing the tractor, it created opportunity for, for them to be able to create new machines like the ones that, harvest, and all of that. So, yes, artificial intelligence will take away some jobs. But artificial intelligence, I bet you, will also create new vistas, opportunities for people to take advantage of. Question really is, will we be ready?
I like that. That's a good poser. We will be ready. Now, maybe we should take it back to you. Do you think we're going to be ready to really, harness what artificial intelligence has to offer? And how ready, what's the time frame you're looking at for us to get really ready?
The thing is interesting. As far as anything the world has thought about, that Nigeria or Nigerians have ventured into, we have somehow managed to do at the top best of most of the people who venture into any industry that there is. So I want to believe that if the question is whether we will be ready, we will have pockets of persons who will be ready. they will go in there with flashes of brilliance and do a lot. They're already doing so, as it were. But I'm looking more to having a lot more number of persons play in this field, begin to drive, the narrative, determine what the future is in terms of artificial intelligence. We've been playing catch up for too long.
Wonderful, that's cool. All right, now we talked about Nigerian creators, getting monetization on Instagram. What do you think about this drive, and how does it change things? How does it switch things out?
I think it's a good thing, actually. Monetization is just basically reward for effort. People are doing this thing already for free, so why not just, get rewarded for it? But I'm concerned. The people who are arguing that it may produce a downside are saying that it may become an opportunity for higher levels of decadence in terms of our moral code here in Nigeria. However, I feel that it shows, or it goes to show the creative capacity of the normal, ordinary Nigerian. And I'm worried why we didn't have this monetization a long time before now. In fact, I understand that TikTok, for instance, you have, in Nigeria currently, TikTok users who are content creators don't get monetized. The same thing happens in they are paid in the US, in the UK, and everywhere else, except in Nigeria here. But you have a lot that is going into influencer marketing, at every other, which is basically what it is, really, on Instagram, on all of these social platforms, where the real money is exchanging hands is in influencer marketing. And so that is what this monetization is about at this point. Reward for being able to influence people to buy products. In fact, Spotify says, or Shopify says, it's about 78% of persons end up buying things they see based on the advert or based on the backing of influencers that they subscribe to. So it's a huge, huge market.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so I like the fact that we are going to see some monetization, because the economy, people are,
Good for everybody, really.
But again, let's now ask ourselves, let's come to that other aspect. It's very key. Now that everybody's a content creator, does it pose any risk? What does it portend, per se?
I already mentioned it when I said those who argue against it. One of the reasons why they do is that it becomes or produces a different struggle for those who are proponents of moral compasses. Because content creation is just basically do whatever is on your mind. And the human mind is infinite in its capacity to think. When you see someone has done, and what is trending these days are usually not particularly fantastic in terms of appeal to those who have very high moral compasses. So you will find more and more people do those things. After all, they're making money from it. And then you start having arguments in favor of things like school as scam. All right? Because, of course, I can come out, create content on Instagram and make money from it. So I think it has that place where it plays against our natural value systems as a country, but that if we're able to find a system that allows for balance, it is good.
So you think legislation has to come in then?
Legislation is tricky. Legislation is tricky. I'll say that because, currently the House of Representatives in the US, for instance, have passed a bill to ban TikTok. Now, the reality is this. Every time you respond to a problem with ban, you create a black market. So the tendency is that people want to look for ways to circumvent that system. And Nigerians were fantastic at thriving in that black market. Yes, so I do not think that level of, legislation will instead open it up more. I think it may stifle it. But I think that some measure of legislation would be good for it on the long run.
All right, a balance will be fine, yes? Okay, so let's go into some other thing that was really trending just a few weeks back, but instead of coming up again, it's about sports betting. We just talked about a ban, and somebody saying, hey, the negatives on sports betting, there's so much influence, negative influences have, it has too much negative effect on especially the young people. So the question is, where do you stand? Should sports betting be banned in Nigeria?
My take may not be general take. I've already expressed the fact that I feel that anything that, any situation that is responded to with a ban creates a black market. I think that everyone who is into sports betting fascinates me personally. I'm very psychoanalytic. And I feel that what it takes for one person to be to be very good at betting, they are they have fantastic soft skills. They do proper analysis.
Research.
They do proper data aggregation. So they spend a lot of time to curate the data that allows them to thrive in that particular industry. So I feel that banning sports betting will only make them channel that energy into something else. So how about we are proactive enough to say, let's create the vista that drives this data gathering and psychoanalytic capacity into a space like the tech space. For instance, I was saying thumbs up to the minister for all the things that they are doing to draw more and more people into the tech space. Thumbs up also to tech schools like USL, School of Design, and all of that are teaching people for free. At Yearbox, for instance, we have the Yearbox internship program that says if you have gathered some level of experience in the tech space, whatever it is, whether it's designs, whether it's in software engineering or whatever it is, we can give you a platform that allows you improve on your capacity. So I feel that sports betting, as it were, if it's stifled by way of ban, it may just create a small conduit for another vice that we may have to deal with.
All right. Okay. Let me just take you up on this because you have not really said whether sports betting is good or not. You have not really said ban it or not. But I see that you're trying to say. So what the alternatives? Let's speak to the alternatives. If you're saying maybe let's not go towards sports betting in all like that, what are the alternatives that exist?
So I spoke about the opportunities that exist in the tech industry, and I also told you about the technical capacity of everybody or most of the persons that are currently doing sports betting. I feel that if we are able to, expose them more a bit into the tech community, they will take that same energy that they put into sports betting. You see, for the most part, let's face it, the Nigerian youth just wants an opportunity to emancipate themselves. Whatever it is that provides that opportunity of emancipation, they'll take it. If you say today that content creation is what's working, everyone's going to point to it, and they'll do it and do it until there's almost no space left for any other person. So if we say that in the tech space, we talked about AI before. The reality is, if we are not intentional about driving people towards the space where they prepare for AI, AI will come and take a lot of us by surprise. The evolution will happen whether we are ready for it or not. And what naturally happens at evolution is that the weak die off. So except we begin to become more and more intentional about how we want to plan our future as a people, we will find that a lot of persons will just fall off the way. So what we will do at this point, for instance, at Yearbox, we've put together a hackathon, a 3-day hackathon for persons who have proficiencies in building software systems. Of course, Yearbox is a software engineering house, so it's easy for us to put up something that's in our community. And say if you know how to build. I think the event is supposed to be sometime in May, the end of May. If you know how to build, you put together a team of 7, you have your designers, your back-end engineers, front-end engineers, everybody comes together. We find active solutions to real-time problems. And in 3 days, you sit down and solve that. Tell me how people who will spend 3 days solving those kind of problems and have investments of upwards of $30,000 in those businesses, tell me how they will find time for things that are considered as vices. I think it's easy to
we're going to come to that because it's talking about what we're looking at the building of the community, tech community and all that. I think I'm going to take you up on that. But we'll be taking a quick break now, and when we return, we'll be looking at just more opportunities for Nigerians, especially in the tech space. How again are we going to be building, that community that can really solve the problems that we are facing right now, the challenges in Nigeria. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching The Beam, coming to you live from our studios in Abuja. Our guest Dexter Moses is still here with us, and we're looking at recent events in Nigeria and how the nation can successfully build proficient tech communities that will address local issues. Moses, we were just talking about building those communities before we left. The question is, how do we build, such that they are really producing what we can use? Because it's okay to say, I can code, I can do this, but are they solving the needs? How do we build that kind of a system that it's the needs that are being solved?
Okay, I think it would be smart to begin the conversation from appreciating what makes a community. So first off, a community has shared interests. What is the shared interest of the tech community is to continue to advance technology within the Nigerian social space. A community always also has a leader, so to say, people driving the conversation, people at the forefront. Fortunately, we have the privilege of some forerunners in the Nigerian tech space who are currently having conversations here and there. I believe that the most important element that brings a community together is synergy. So how does our interests align? At what point do they align? And how do they bring all of us shared profit? I think that's what, so when we answer this question, how does tech bring all of us? How does it bring government shared profit? Because one of the things I would say in Nigeria as a social space is, I find that we have had selective adoption of technology, for instance. So what that means is that we don't take technology in full, so we take some parts because we want to remain in control. We sprinkle it here and there. I'll give you just an example, and I hope it doesn't come out the wrong way. National identity, bank verification number. Excuse me, sir. The biometric information that is taken from the both systems, they are one and the same. My biometrics will never really change. My fingerprints will never change. My name, even if I have done a name change, it's official. You understand? Why not just create a program that synergizes? Why am I hearing something from my account officer to say, okay, I need to go back to the bank to provide this information to be able to sync the both? So I'm thinking that if we move from the point where it is selective adoption to complete adoption of technology, and getting in front of that conversation to say, how do our interests align? The government, the people, ordinary people. In fact, I want to speak to antitrust. One of the reasons why people have reservations with, we talked about the TikTok ban earlier, is basically about government's access to sensitive data from people's phones, on people's devices and all of that. The reality is that people will always have these trust issues until government begins to become more responsible, to the people by way of the amount of information they provide to the people on what they are doing with the resources. There's a lot of, I call it conspiracy theorems here and there about what is and what is not. So I want to believe that as that gap gets closed, our interests begin to align a lot more, and the tech community building and developing it will happen very seamlessly,
almost seamlessly.
Yes.
Okay, so let me now put you on the spot. You have experience in securities and, all that. So the question is, as a person who's in tech, what are some of the things you think can be brought in technical-wise, using science and tech? What are the things that can help us mitigate what we're experiencing right now, or eradicate it even totally, if possible? I mean, I'm talking about banditry and all these things. Unfortunately,
irrespective of what you design technology-wise, there is always the human interaction. And that will determine, computer is basically garbage in, garbage out. So it's what you put in that's going to bring out for you. So irrespective of what is designed technology-wise, there is an array of what could be used. In fact, even before the first bombing in 2010, there was already the intelligence that it was going to happen. So it's not like it took the security apparatus by surprise. But what was the response to it? And what was the reason for the response to it? So these are the things that one must consider, the human elements to responding to allowing technology drive civilization, drive the improvement of the people, I think that that's not something that should be, should be left to chance. There are myriads and myriads of solutions. There is robotics, there is artificial intelligence, machine learning that could add to, our security and defense infrastructure. But hello, sir, irrespective of whichever one you build or design, if the human element is not sincere towards the deployment or users of those, it won't amount to much.
Are you saying to us right now that those in authority are not willing to accept some of these things right now?
I don't think it is a case of not willing to accept. I think they know the capacity of these things. But I feel that they also understand that to an extent, they lose certain levels of control with technology. I feel that what makes government is the ability to have control over the people. So technology takes away some level of that control. If a robot is programmed, for instance, to get into Sambisa and undertake a task, and the robot is fed with the primary biometric identification of certain people that, of course, they have this data, they have these details. When the robot goes there, except if it is strong, shot off by a rocket from far and all that, the robot is able to identify the exact person it needs to liquidate. Collateral damage is near zero in that instance. So for me, it's not necessarily a case of building more technology. There's the technology that can take care of security. It is the willpower to now let technology work. That's the real question.
The willpower to make it work. All right, let's keep digressing a lot into more of the political side, because I know somehow we can't even shy away from it, even when you're talking to tech. Absolutely. You can't shy away from it. I'm looking at Abia State and what's going on there, stopping the payments of pension to ex-governors and their deputies. What do you think? How does it help us? How does it move us forward?
Yeah, I think that it is a fantastic move. However, I think that the job of governor of a state is worthy of pension. I think that what the problem may have been is that it is usually over-bloated, big and all of that. But I feel that anybody who has worked for government, pension is not even necessarily just the contribution of government. Pension is also the contribution of the individual for the time they were working in an establishment. So to repeal the law without necessarily taking into cognizance that to make pension, those people may have contributed their quota to that pension. I'm not sure it takes everything into account. Yes, I feel it's good. It's to show the people that, hey, we're responsible to you. We are taking you very seriously, and we take government and governance very seriously. But excuse me, sir, these are public servants, and so what applies to Paul applies to Silas. If the ordinary worker is due for pension, I personally think that someone who has served in the highest office in the state should be, but that it is not over-bloated, it's not out of proportion and all of that. That's my take. That's a very good place
That's a very good place to end it, because that's going to be a big conversation over there. I can imagine the conversations that are going to happen on social media. Thank you very much, Moses, for coming. It's fantastic talking to you. I mean, the wide range you can cover is a lot, and there's so many more things we can talk about. But I'm guessing we're going to have you on the show very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Okay, thank you, guys. That's our program for today. That's where we're going to be ending this episode. It was indeed very insightful. This is where we're going to draw the curtain on the beam today. And for all our viewers, we want to thank you for always tuning in and giving us feedback. We appreciate the engagement, so keep them coming. We're watching and we're checking them out, and we're working with what you're saying. I'm Sunas Nathaniel. Until I'm back on your screens next week, I just want you to remember, do not forget that local hands can build global brands, and it's not where we have come from, but where we as a nation want to go to. Bye for now.